People would tell you how to run a short-term rental, me included. I do too. But a lot of the focus is on how to price it, how to furnish it, and how to automate guest messaging. And almost no one wants to stop and ask you whether it's a good idea for you to run one at all. And I get why. The whole industry is built to assume you've already decided. You've typed, should I make my house a short-term rental into a search bar? And every result skips straight past the question to start selling you the answer. So let's actually sit with the question for a minute, because if you've got a second space and a real gap to fill, the most profitable move you can make isn't always optimizing a short-term rental. It's confirming that a short-term rental is the right model in the first place. I'm Joy. I've been hosting for 26 years and across short-term, mid-term, and long-term rentals. I've also watched a lot of smart people pour money into the wrong model because nobody told them there was a choice to make, or they didn't realize that there are differences between short and mid-term rentals. So let's make sure that isn't you. So who am I talking to? Quick gut check before we go further. Maybe you're just curious what your space could do. Maybe you've decided to rent and you're about to set it up. Or maybe you're already renting short term and something started to feel off, the work or the neighbors or the math. Any one of those, you're in the right place. None of this assumes you want to build a portfolio. This is for the owner of one property, sometimes two, who wants it to earn real income and still fit their life around it. If that's you, here's the reframe. Start with the model, not the listing. Short-term rental is one option. It's not the default. It's not necessarily the destination. There are 4 ways to rent a space. Short-term, the nightly and weekly stays you picture when you hear Airbnb. Mid-term, the 30-plus day stays for people who need a real place to land for a season. And long-term, the traditional lease. There's also a 4th option, a hybrid model, where you shift the model within the calendar or the market. So here's what my nearly 3 decades of doing this have taught me. There isn't a ranking, it's a fit question. So let me make it concrete for you before I give you all 4 options. There's a family that came back to my seaside cottage rental for a week, year after year. Their kids and then their grandkids growing up, looking forward to their summer vacation, hiking, exploring, and making music and art out on our back porch. That's a short-term rental. And delivering a high-quality, consistent guest experience, turnover after turnover, is what makes that viable. Then there was a traveling nurse, also called a locum tenens nurse, who filled a months-long gap in a hospital coverage during a shortage. She didn't need a vacation. She needed a real home for several months. That's a midterm rental. And for that property and our lifestyle, hosting nurses and tuna brokers and relocators was an excellent fit. It's reliable income with a lot less demand on our time. So that was the right fit in that property at that time. And then there were recent college grads who needed a foothold through reasonable rent on a long-term lease. That's less rent per month, but it's not seasonal. It has effectively no turnover to manage, and it's essentially a one-and-done arrangement if you match tenants well. So same owner, 3 completely different properties, 3 completely different rental models matched to different needs. So the skill is in knowing which one is the property and the moment asking for. A 4th model, of course, is a hybrid of the 2. So say a short-term rental in the high season of a tourist area, followed by a 6-month lease in the off-season for people who want to stay and get to know a place, but not pay for housing at a nightly rate. It doesn't always have to be 6 months either, of course, but what we're saying is you have a short-term in the high season and a midterm in the low season. So how do you actually decide? I run every space through 5 filters before I commit a dollar. I call it the MRP Mindful 5. 1, financial viability, not the gross earnings, the number that lands in your account after cleaning, supplies, platform fees, higher insurance, and the vacancy that you're pretending won't happen actually does. Short-term rentals only win not on the gross number, but on the net number of what you'll actually earn. 2, lifestyle fit. Short term is the highest touch model there is. Turnovers guest messaging, cleaning and caretaking requirements, and the occasional 11 p.m. contact from a confused or lost guest. Ask yourself honestly how much time and attention you actually have. A model that overburdens your lifestyle and your property is not a net gain. Number 3, community compatibility. Will this earn support on your street or will it earn scrutiny? Your neighbors form an opinion that can actually affect how you operate. In some neighborhoods, short-term rentals are welcome. In others, a mid-term nurse or long-term tenant is the move that keeps the peace and keeps you off the agenda at the next town meeting. Number 4, regulatory alignment. This is the one people sometimes want to skip and more often regret. Short-term rentals are the most regulated of the 4 options, and the rules shift by municipality, and they're shifting fast. So before you choose short-term exclusively, you need to know what your specific town actually allows and in what direction the planning is going. Sometimes the regulation makes the decision for you, and it's better to learn that now before you've furnished the place. Number 5 is sustainability. Can you run this model for years without burning out? The best rental isn't the one with the highest peak month. It's the one that you can still operate in year 3. Because setting up a rental isn't an overnight thing, nor is selling your property typically. And if you're in this venture, you're probably planning to do this for more than a minute, or you certainly should be. It's an investment of time, not just money. And for many of us, the place we're renting is a property we care about. We want to retain or maybe even use ourselves some of the time. So either way, we certainly want and come to rely on the income. So it's best to know the terrain and to make an honest assessment up front. 5 filters. If the short-term rental model clears all 5 for your property, your life, and your host community, run it and run it well. If it stumbles on 2 or 3, that's not a disaster. It's you running a smart business analysis and the system doing its job, pointing you at the model that actually fits to save you a lot of stress and heartache in the future. The Airbnb 3.0 era is one more piece of terrain for you to consider because it's shaping all of this. Now, that's a term that I made up, but it's what I call the era that we're in now, the Airbnb 3.0 era. The first wave was adoption. The second was saturation. The third is the one we're in, where towns and communities are writing real rules about short-term rentals, and they're not slowing down. I want to be clear about something. This isn't me telling you to stay away from short-term rentals. I still run a short-term rental even after we've pivoted in our lives. And most of you will too. And that's a good thing when it's done right. But this is me telling you that the hosts who are going to still be standing in 5 years are the ones who are reading the current instead of pretending that it is there. Even Airbnb itself and most of the other online travel agents or OTAs like Vrbo themselves are accommodating longer stays. And that's not just because the regulatory currents are shifting, although they absolutely are. It's also because travelers, especially post-pandemic, seek longer stays. And there are entire models of business and workforces who rely on mobility with longer-term accommodation. You do want to know your market and your host community's priorities, concerns, and plans. And you also want to look at your own lifestyle and appetite for manageability. Choose the model that's right for you on purpose. Operate in a mindful way because you've decided to, not because it's what everybody else did or because, heaven forbid, you got a letter from the town forcing you to change your model after the fact. So that's the whole process. It's not about whether you rent the property to drive complementary income to enhance your lifestyle. It's about whether you confirm first that it actually will. So what's your next right move? Here's where I'll leave you. Before you optimize anything, before you buy the foam mattresses and write the welcome guide, run your space through those 5 filters. Your property, your life, your host community. Let the answer be whatever it actually is. Adapt to the terrain, align to the model, and then thrive in it. If this kind of strategic thinking resonates for you, I help you work through real decisions for real people renting real estate. The link's in the show notes. And just remember, just ask the questions first, and I'll see you over on the porch.